Bessie Lou Carter had a reputation in Mossy Hollow. Her biscuits were legendary, the kind folks whispered about at church potlucks and famous reunions. They were perfectly golden, as fluffy as a cloud, and buttery enough to make a stick of margarine feel like an imposter. But Bessie wasn't just known for her biscuits. She was also known for her sass. When her nosy neighbor, Miss Crenshaw, once asked her for her secret recipe, Bessie quipped, "Sure, darling, but you need a lifetime of practice and just the right amount of stubbornness to make it work." One fateful Saturday morning, Bessie woke up early, as she always did, to whip up a batch of her famous biscuits for the church bake sale. She had her apron tied tight, the kitchen smelling like flour and butter, and her favorite blue mixing bowl ready for action. But disaster struck, of course. Midway through baking, Bessie's ancient oven gave out a loud pop, leaving her biscuits half-cooked and her kitchen full of smoke. She flung open the window and hollered, "Lord have mercy, somebody call the fire department, or at least bring me an oven that works." Her call for help didn't go unnoticed. First to arrive was Mr. Hawkins, a retired handyman who lived 2 doors down. He carried over his old cast-iron Dutch oven. "It ain't fancy," he said, plunking it on the counter, "but it'll get the job done." Ruby Jean, Bessie's best friend since 3rd grade, she showed up next. She had a wood stove on her back porch and insisted they bring the biscuit trays over to finish baking. "Bessie," she said, "we ain't letting a busted oven ruin your biscuit streak." By now, the commotion had got the entire attention of everyone in Magnolia. Old Mr. Earl, who hadn't stepped outside since the country fair 2 years ago, he even shuffled over with a bag of extra flour. The Jefferson twins, they brought butter, unsolicited and appreciated. Even Pastor Tillman left his sermon prep to offer the church kitchen if Bessie needed it. The scene was like a carnival. Neighbors were laughing, sharing stories, and sneaking bites of biscuit dough when they thought Bessie wasn't looking. And as the biscuits baked, something magical happened. Grudges that had simmered for years just disappeared. Mrs. Crenshaw and Ruby Jean, who hadn't spoken since the infamous pie contest of '98, were suddenly swapping tips on keeping pie crust flaky. By the time the biscuits were done, they weren't just a batch of baked goods. They were a town triumph. Bessie stood on her porch and with the basket of golden beauties and declared, "Y'all didn't just save my biscuits today, you saved my soul." That afternoon, the bake sale at the church was the busiest it had ever been. Folks couldn't get enough of Bessie's biscuits, but more than that, they couldn't stop talking about how the whole town had pitched in to make them happen. Bessie, of course, took it all in stride. "Well," she said, with a wink, "I always knew my biscuits were good enough to bring these folks together. I just didn't think it'd take a broken oven to prove it." From that day on, Bessie's kitchen became the unofficial gathering spot of Mossy Hollow. Whether it was a broken appliance or a broken heart, you could count on Bessie's biscuits and the people of Magnolia Lane to fix it.